Hi, welcome back. We're going to talk now about time and priorities. How you use your time, Pastor, will be based on how effectively you choose your priorities. Priorities can be defined as something that is more important than other things and that needs to be done or dealt with first. Setting your priorities is probably the most important way for you to use your time. I'm going to introduce to you Pareto's Principle if you haven't heard of it before. It's the rule of 20-80. John Maxwell, in his leadership books, said that this is the most important priority tool that any leader can use. The 20-80 rule says that 20% of your priorities, 20% of your tasks will produce 80% of your results. If that's true, then it becomes paramount for you to look at the tasks you have in front of you and understand what are those 20% tasks that can produce 80% of the results. And what can I do with the other 80%? Do they need to be delegated so that someone else can do them? This 20-80 has a lot of applications. In business, it was very frustrating because when I was told that 20% of my clients produce 80% of my profits, I was like, whoa! And I made my accountant go and figure that out. And it turned out that it was 20% of my clients produced 78% of my profits. Close enough. I'm not going to argue. I'm sure in another year it swings a little bit more. But this 20-80, you're not going to be surprised that 20% of your congregation will do 80% of the work. Doesn't mean that you don't need to include everybody, but you know who those 20% are. For me, 20% of my clients produced 80% of my problems. Maybe true too. But for you, what we want to look at is the 20% of your priorities and tasks that produce 80% of your results. You're going to need to do this analysis once a year at least, because the numbers of things that will come to you will change based on how you are getting closer to achieving the visions God's given to you, or maybe you need to reset the vision. But as you get closer to things, the tasks, if your congregation gets larger or you're involved in different things, your task will change. So we're going to review and suggest to you, there will be a list in the appendix of the workbook that asks you to take the tasks and ask you to assign either a one being a non-negotiable, pastor must do alone, or a number 2, the task can be done with a pastor and a team. Or number 3, a team can do it and just report it to the pastor. So pastor, you may have to take your tasks and look at this. Now this gets to be very personal because unfortunately a lot of what we want and do and put on our calendar are things that we're comfortable with. So I have to tell you that this putting things in these categories can make you a little uncomfortable. But if you're not willing to change, then no one else is going to be willing to change. So you have to be prepared to take on this task of making yourself work on priorities. Now, once you've done that, now you will understand where you need teams and how you can engage other people's spiritual gifts and abilities in these teams. Remember we said that the key to engaging people was the application of teams. So you need to review your tasks. Then you need to begin to review your teams. What you've defined them to do. Are they doing it? Does it need to be done? You need to look at what the composition of those teams. Do you have the right people in those teams? Do they have the right spiritual gifts? Do they have the right personality styles to do what you're doing? Remember, you're going to need different personality styles if you're talking about youth programs, where you're going to lean more to S and to people that are help than you are for a group that has to build a building, where you're going to look for the D's and the C's, the dominants and the conscientious, to control that. But you're going to use personalities in all things. If you're doing something that's an evangelical outreach, you're going to look at spiritual gifts and personalities to put those together. So, pastors, I implore you to look at your schedule, to look at the things you're doing, to look at the things that need to be done, to make sure you understand, are you the one that has to do it? Or do you need a team working with you? Or can it be delegated to a team? Your use of your time and your priorities is going to be a key factor in achieving God's vision for your church. Thank you.